Good afternoon and welcome to Jones & Company. I'm your host, Brian Jones. And today we have a very special guest who's no stranger to this show, Mr. Wendall Jones, joining me. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Fantastic. So we're here with Wendall Jones today, and just ahead of his departure to the United States, where he'll be taking on the post of U.S. Ambassador on behalf of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so we just want to have a few words with our ambassador and wish him well before we send him off. So just want to ask you to kick this interview off. How does it feel to be on the other side of this table?
Well, I did one of these last week with Alison Maynard Gibson, and I've been doing the round, so to speak, with a number of journalists in this country. And so it does feel a little strange to be interviewed. As I mentioned, I've been in this business now for going on 50 years, and I've interviewed people from around the world. And so I know now how it feels to be on the other side being interviewed. And so it's an honor to be here today.
Right, it's an honor to have you as my guest.
Yes.
On Jones & Company, and certainly it's an honor for the nation to be sending you off to the United States as our ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. I've had congratulatory notes and remarks from around the world, really, particularly from my family members and friends here in the Bahamas, and I should say people who I don't even know. I've gotten emails on a number of occasions over the last 3 months or so. And so I am honored to be in this position, and I should do my best to represent the people of the Bahamas to the best of my ability. As I mentioned, I'm not there to represent myself. And I'm Ambassador Extraordinary Plenipotentiary, and so that means that I am representing the government of the Bahamas. And so I must keep myself properly apprised of what the various positions of the government is on a variety of matters. Keep in close contact with the capital, so that when we speak in Washington, D.C. or anywhere in the United States, Colombia or Malaysia, we would be speaking authoritatively and on the basis of facts and representing the position of the Bahamian government.
Certainly, and so speaking from the basis of facts, you're no stranger to that, having spent, as you said, over 50 years in the field of journalism.
Almost 50.
Almost 50, that's right, almost 50. And as you kind of look back over, the history of Jones Communications, its origins, and what led you to this, I guess, this pivotal point in your career. I mean, what stands out the most to you?
The staff of Jones Communications had a reception for me the other day, and I mentioned to them that any success that I have or have enjoyed over the many years, I owe it to a whole lot of people who have passed through the halls, through the studios of Jones Communications. And so I am particularly pleased that the government has chosen someone like myself who has been in journalism and representing journalists in the country who have labored long and hard and who are pretty much abreast of what is happening in the country. And so I say to people that I know the issues, whether those issues relate to our foreign policy or whether they relate to some other areas of our country. It has been my life's work to be involved in the political development of the country, having started from I was about 18 years old. And so I am pretty confident that we would do our best as we move to Washington next week. But it has been quite a journey.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. And you mentioned something interesting just now in terms of the impact or the role that the media has had on politics in this country. It's been pivotal, I mean, really critical to the level of transparency, helping, I guess, both sides of the divide see and appreciate the issues for what they are. For example, one show, I mean, you've hosted Issues of the Day for so many years, and it's allowed, I guess, our entire community to address issues in a timely manner. You know, so that being the case, what issues do you think are really pressing that, for example, that you can address on the international stage?
Well, currently, the government of the Bahamas is being asked whether or not sanctions should be brought against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. That is unsettled as it is. But there are many geopolitical issues that the Bahamas must address, must contend with. But I like to say to people that we are the third border of the United States of America. There are many issues facing young people in the Bahamas, for instance, access to education. You know, after the pandemic, I believe that we have seen a gap in what we ought to have been about in the development of education in this country. Some of our students have not had the opportunity or opportunities for growth as they should have had because of the pandemic. And so we can lean on educational institutions in the United States of America to see how best they can assist our educators here in the Bahamas, the exchange of information, for instance, and to see the extent to which we can catch up as a result of losing almost 2 years in some cases. And then there are visa issues that many students have been dealing with over the many years. For instance, a young student who wishes to go to university would have to show a year's bank account that they are able to cover a year tuition. Given our relationship with the United States of America, I believe that that is something that we should really be looking at to see if we can ameliorate that situation. I have, over many years, had to show my bank account for people who are my friends or relatives so that they can get in various universities. It seems to me that there should be some relaxation of some of the restrictions, some of the encumbrances that Bahamian students have to go through in order to get to the United States of America. So there's a myriad of issues that we have to contend with. Given the fact that we are best friends, I put it that way, with the United States, because we are next door. They are our closest neighbors. We have done a whole lot in terms of the development of the Florida area, South Florida in particular. I believe Bahamians probably per capita spend more money in Florida than any other country in the world. And Bahamians have been very instrumental in building the city of Miami. I know of a gentleman who I sat next to in church who said to me that, you know, I worked on the rails, on the train rails in Miami. There was a time when Bahamians were able to go to Florida without a passport. I know we can go now with just police record, right? But we need to ensure that we are building on the relationship that we have with the United States of America. They must know that we are special. And we should be more special than anybody else in this region, given the amount of work that Bahamians have done, particularly in the Florida area.
Well, certainly, the proximity. We're right there on the doorstep.
Absolutely.
And like you say, we are certainly we enjoy a special relationship with the U.S. So I'm sure you're going to do everything to deepen deepen those ties.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that the Bahamians have actually had such a massive contribution on the development of the U.S. There's stories to be told as well, I'm sure. For example, Sir Sidney Poitier had passed away recently, and we started hearing a lot of the stories of his life that weren't really told during his lifetime.
Yes.
Right? And I know this is something that you is near and dear to you as well, having highlighted so many significant Bahamians in the books you've released over the years, 100 Most Outstanding Bahamians of the 20th century, 21st century, and so on.
You know, I told people that Sydney's parents were tomato farmers from Cat Island, and they went to Miami to sell their tomatoes on a sailboat. And his mother was pregnant with him, and so he was born in Miami. They, of course, sold their tomatoes, and she stayed there for a few weeks and came back to the Bahamas, and he went back to Cat Island, and so he grew up in Cat Island. And so the story is told of so many Bahamians who were like Sir Sidney, having been born in the United States of America, but grew up here in the Bahamas. And in addition to that, we have in many institutions in the United States of America, some of our brightest students. They have become professors in many universities. We have a Bahamian, for instance, who is the president of a university. They are professors. We have some of the leading physicians in the United States of America who are Bahamian, scientists, people who are working with NASA. They are in San Francisco, working in Silicon Valley. So Bahamians are making a significant contribution to the development of many areas of the United States. And one of the things that we have to do as a country is bring those people from the Bahamian diaspora, bring them together and let them contribute to our national development here.
Yes.
Some of them have gone to the United States and, as it were, got lost. And so we have to find them. So I go in search of these Bahamians from the diaspora to tell them, going into the 50th anniversary of independence, that there's a place for them in the Bahamas. And even though they might be living in the United States of America, they have a contribution to make. We want them to make a contribution to our country, the Bahamas, and to inspire young Bahamians to be like them. I always say that we are educating people not for the Bahamas but for the world, and so we have educated many of them for the world. And they have gone to the United States of America, and they are doing well, earning big bucks, and so we want them in many ways to come back from time to time and do guest lectures at the University of the Bahamas and just to inspire our young people.
Absolutely. That would be sensational. And the thing is, I know many Bahamians out there in the diaspora, they're looking for ways and means to contribute.
Absolutely.
And I think from time to time, I guess like when Bahamas started and so on, there was some outreach, but I don't know of any let's say I guess more specific channels that are designed for Bahamians to engage, whether it's from an investment standpoint, whether it's from a political standpoint, or just community engagement, what have you.
Well, these channels have to be developed.
Right.
And the good news is that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they are resetting the agenda, so to speak, and the ministers developed and enhancing our foreign policy. And so it has to do with not only the relationship between foreign investors coming to the Bahamas, but Bahamians who are living in the United States, facilitating their needs, facilitating the needs of Bahamian businessmen who want to do business in the United States of America. And so this thing is about building relationships.
Yes, yes.
That is, I believe, the job of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I certainly take on the challenge to not only build relationships, but to enhance existing relationships that we have.
Precisely. I think this is, I guess, a potential, silver lining of the brain drain situation we've basically been experiencing all over the years, right? We have exported a lot of talent from the country to the U.S.
No doubt.
But that doesn't mean it's lost,
No,
right?
not
There
at
are
all.
certainly ways for that talent to come back. Indirectly or directly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think that's wonderful. Now, in terms of the Jones Communications is organization, management, etc., going forward, you're going to obviously be engaged on the political scene. So
as I mentioned in a staff meeting that I had the other day. Farewell kind of staff meeting, I told my staff that, I'm the owner of Jones Communications. I'm going to remain the owner of Jones Communications and chairman of the board. But we have some very competent individuals here who have been with the company for more than a quarter of a century in some cases, who are going to guide the organization moving forward. I'm going to be in the background, so to speak, and any advice that they would need from me, of course, that advice would be forthcoming. But I am very confident that having the template that we have built over the last 27 years,
yes.
that template is there, and they're going to use that template to grow the company. As a matter of fact, Kim Jones, who is going to be our CEO, Christy Stubbs, the Chief Operating Officer, Carla Smith, the Manager of Programming, then there are a whole cadre of people who are supporting them. They themselves have been a part of building that template. Yes. All right, so they know the rhythm of the company. They know what to do, what not to do. As a matter of fact, I say to people, that all I did in many days was just to do shows. But in terms of the business, the administrative aspects of Jones Communications, those things were left in the hands of the people who I just called.
Right.
And so they are very competent, and I have tremendous confidence that they are going to move the company from strength to strength.
Absolutely, yes. I too am confident. This is an institution that you've built, and it's certainly going to stand the test of time.
In addition to that, I want to say this, right? Brian Jones, for instance, is a relative of mine. And what we are seeing is a generational shift. Christian, who is doing issues of the day, doing a very good job. You people have been educated to take over. And, we all have expiry dates, okay? And we have to move off the scene, as is recorded in one of the Shakespeare's. We are all actors on the stage of life.
Yes.
And you must make your entrance and make your exit. Right. So I am right now making my exit from Jones Communications on the front line. Don't know after this tour of duty whether or not I will do a show when I'm in my 70s, but I do know that I feel that I have made a contribution to journalism in the country. And as I said, I'm leaving these shows and this company in very good hands. Highly intelligent people like yourself. You're able to interview anybody and speak authoritatively on a number of issues as Christian and others. And so the future is bright.
Amazing. So one other thing that you've built up a tremendous reputation for is your success as an artist, right? As a painter, in particular. And so I hope that you're going to still find some time to produce some artwork.
Oh yes, no doubt. I mean, you know, that is my hobby. People call me an artist, but I say that, you know, I'm a journalist, and art is my hobby, and I've been doing it now for about, seriously, for about 15 years, right? And I do it mostly on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And so I hope that I would have the time in Washington to develop a whole lot of art. I have some things in my head right now. As they say, I'm pregnant now with a couple of pieces, you know? And so I have to deliver those in a short period of time. And who knows, I might do an exhibition in Washington.
Okay.
You know, on Bohemian Art. I believe that, well, it is something that I fell in love with over the last 15 years, as I said. And I am gratified that there are so many people who come through the building here in Jones Communications, and they admire what we have. And I believe that I have produced about over 200 pieces, and these are huge over the last 15 years. And so I'm happy that my work is being purchased. Yes. by quite a number of people, so it gives me great satisfaction.
Well, they say the demand might even go up now that you're internationally recognized.
Well, I don't know. I would do my best to you know, I don't believe in mediocrity. I believe in excellence, and that is what I believe that we ought to be about as a nation. We are a nation in progress.
Yes, indeed.
We are going to celebrate our 50th anniversary. We are still a young nation, but we must inspire our youth to be about excellence, whether it's in art or music or whatever you do in your area in financial services. Once we commit ourselves to excellence and become a more disciplined people,
yes,
I believe that the Bahamas will continue to be one of the finest nations in the Caribbean, indeed in the world.
I think that goes without question, because we're producing role models such as yourselves for our citizens to emulate. And you certainly do set a high bar in terms of your professionalism as a journalist, and we expect you to soar to even higher heights in Washington, D.C. as our ambassador. So thank you so much for joining me on this first segment of the show, and we really wish you well in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Brian. I thank you so very much for the expression of those wishes, and I wish you well too as you continue to hold the fort here. Carry the mantle on this program, Jones and Company, that we've had going for 27 years. And I tell people that we have never missed a Sunday on Jones and Company. And so we're going to leave it to you. And so yes, I give you credit for all that you have done so far. And I know that you will continue to do well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I accept that responsibility, and I hope to make you proud.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So we'll continue shortly. So this episode of Jones & Company has been brought to you by Agio Digital, and we'll be right back. Thank you.